my presentation is about value for money in the provision of services in the public sector of Uganda. That's my title, and in terms of my topic, somebody's calling me. So in terms of the topic, my topic is value for money, and then the title is value for money in the provision of services in the public sector of Uganda. So in terms of the summary, 77% of the respondents confirm that competition in procurement of services enhances economy, whereas 85.6% of the respondents confirms that when reports are submitted in time, it enhances efficiency of services. While 95%, almost 96% of the respondents says that checking performance against the set objectives enhances effectiveness of services. Overall, efficiency is more practiced than effectiveness and economy in Uganda's public service. While it is also important to note that economy is the least practiced element of value for money in the Ugandan public service. So in terms of the context of the problem, generally value for money has become not only a concern, but a prominent issue in the development agenda, not only in Uganda, but all over the world. And millions of dollars are spent, and the concern is that there is no value for money derived. In terms of some few statistics, in 2014, the Auditor General of British Columbia reported that about $560 million were spent in the provision of services alone. While narrowing it down to Uganda, in the 2014-2015 financial year, about 50.2% of the budget of the Ugandan government was spent in the procurement of services. So this statistics tells us that huge amounts of money has been dedicated to the provision of services to the government sector. Therefore, as a result of the above statistics, there is a growing concern among not only the donors, but also the civil society and then the civil servants on no value for money which are derived from the provision of services to the government. Now, my goal and objectives were as follows. The cardinal goal, the overarching goal, was the study to evaluate the effectiveness of value for money. And then I broke down the objectives in three. Number one was an examination of the economy in the provision of services. Number two was still the examination of efficiency. And then the last one was examination of effectiveness in the service provision in Uganda. In terms of the methodology that I used to arrive at the conclusion, the study was a descriptive and cross-sectional study. The target was about 1,500 respondents from selected ministries, departments, and agencies, but also the local government units within Uganda. And then the response rate was 96%. Out of the 400 sample, I got a response from 382, representing 96% from the ministries, departments, and local governments. The questionnaire was the key tool for my data collection. In terms of validity, overall, my instruments were reliable at 0.763, with economy reliable at 0.725, efficiency at 0.684, whereas effectiveness was at 0.680. And then I used SPSS version 16 to do the data analysis. In terms of the results and the discussions, I will start with economy in the provision of services. 77.7% of the respondents says that competition in the procurement of services enhances economy. When there is competition, there is good economy. We get economy from the provision of services. While another 77.7 still says that transparency in financial evaluation is what is important and should be encouraged. While 72% of the respondents says that reviewing availability of alternatives to hiring consultants should be sought first before the ministries, departments, and agencies can go ahead to hire. While about 50% disagreed with the position which the majority took, and therefore were not decided on how the economy as a component of value for money can be obtained. Taking it further to efficiency in the provision of service, 85% of the respondents says efficiency is when reports from the various consultants are submitted in time, while 90% of the respondents says delivering the outputs as per the terms of reference is an indicator of efficiency, whereas 83% of the respondents are in agreement that reports produced by the hired consultants should help to solve a problem, not only in a given society, but overall in the country as Uganda. While 46% of the respondents were of the opinion that carrying out the value for money audit by the Office of the Auditor General does not add any value to efficiency. Then lastly, in terms of the effectiveness, about close to 96% of the respondents says checking performance against the objectives encourages effectiveness, whereas close to 96% still, that's 95.9 of the respondents says that achievements of the intended purpose of the contract is the driving factor to effectiveness, while almost 90% of the respondents are still in agreement that documenting all evaluations of the performance of the contract should be done to encourage effectiveness. While a small percentage of the respondents, about 20% of the respondents, were of the opinion that fairness and transparency in considering past evaluation does not add any value to effectiveness. Those are a few of the references that I used. Still the same page. In terms of the conclusion, my conclusion is that 77%, which is derived from the statistics and the data which I obtained, of the respondents in the public sector confirms that competition for services should enhance economy, while 85% of the staff says that reports are submitted in time enhances efficiency, whereas 95% of the respondents says checking performance against objectives enhances effectiveness. Overall, efficiency is the most considered element of value for money in the Ugandan's public service, whereas economy is the least practiced. Least practice means it is the least considered out of the three components of the value for money. And then overall, the study concludes that there is no value for money in the provision of services in the public sector of Uganda. In terms of the future steps, the findings from this study is an eye-opener to the policymakers in Uganda at the various ministries, but I'm specifically targeting and pointing this out to the Ministry of Finance, which is responsible for treasury and financial matters of the country, and also to the other ministries, departments, and agencies to address the specific recommendations that are put forward. But also there is equally high need for donor groups and the individual institutions to keenly monitor the adherence to the value for money considerations so that there is no waste of resources. And then finally, more urgent need is required from the executive arm of the government in supporting the legislature in ensuring that there is compliance and monitoring of the recommendations from the various reports of the Auditor General and that of the Parliament. So that is the end of my presentation. Thank you so much. In East Africa, we say asanteni sana. Thank you.